What's up, everybody? I'm Informal Geek, and we're going to continue through my top 100 favorite board games. We're at the top 10 of the top 10, the number 20 through 11. We're going to do a slight format change, but before we get into any more of those details, just quick reminders that if this is not the right point of the journey that you want to jump into, no worries. In the description, there are links to the playlist in itself, as well as an entry point straight into the number 100 video. Also, if you're going to leave any comments, be mindful of spoilers to anyone who's joining us for the first time. Try not to reference the title of the game and instead reference the number. But other than that, we're going to call that the end of the disclaimers and jump right into it. And you're going to see everything that we've covered so far. And here we go. So yeah, these are the 70 games that we've covered so far. I think that's how my math works, because we're going to do 20 to 11, which would have been 80, 90. Nope. We did 80 games so far. I get math. There we go. So what we're going to do different this time is we're not going to reveal all 10. I'm going to reveal 5. Go through those 5s and then reveal the next 5. All right, let's see if you can guess what my number 20 to 16 favorite games are. I'm in the wrong tool. There we go. So my number 20, I took a piece of a game or component and put it here to see if you can guess what they are. So here's a teaser for number 20. Here's the teaser for number 19. The teaser for 18, 17, and 16. Let's break them down. My number 20 is a pretty new game, actually. This one has skyrocketed my top 100 because it is unique and also pretty fun. If you played Splendor, this is Splendor on steroids. This does have some fancy components. I do have the deluxe version, which has the game trays and these chips, but don't be discouraged if that's not available, because these chips are not they're not weighty. They're not like, I mean, they're nice to look at. They're stickered chips, but tokens are just as fine. Their components quality is really good, and it doesn't come with the tray if you buy the basic version, which may not, this deluxe version may not be available, but it's the exact same artwork and player boards, just with, instead of it being inserts and cutouts, it's just got some artwork and you place your tokens there. Don't be discouraged by that, because everything else in this game, component-wise and artwork-wise, is amazing. It is super attractive, which makes it easy to get played. And I think that's why this game has jumped up on my list so much, is because it's been easy to play. And then when you play, it's a lot of fun. So similar to Splendor, on your turn, you have to take some chips. The selections are going to be based off of what's out here. This has a, excuse me, 1 second. This does have a little bit of an action selection element to it. So on your dashboard, similar to Scythe, for example, wherever your peg is, you have to move it. So if this were my turn, I'd have to move it here or here and then take an action. The actions that you can take is either to grab, these actually are identical. You take up to 4 ingredients from a single disc, or you get a tool card, or you can advance time. If you pay a gold, you can do both in any order. So, and then this one here is you take up to 3 ingredients, but from the splash, what I call the splash zones. I don't know, I forget what they're called. And then you can complete orders as well. So this is primarily where you go to turn in your chips to complete orders, but you can do both if you pay your gold. But what really makes this game fun is unlike Splendor, that as the game progresses, the ingredients that are available are really varied. I mean, this is a pretty late game. You can see this one here has a cream and a cherry and a special ingredient here. Whereas this one is a cherry disc, but it's all that's left on it is cookie and gelatin. So the way this works is you pick one, you take everything, and then if you took the last ingredient, you are making a mess. I'm air quoting the word mess, and whatever the ingredient type is of the disc is what spawns, basically. So if we were to take all of them from here, then this whipped cream stuff is going to appear here, 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 and here. And then this flips over. and it becomes a different ingredient type. It's hard to see it here, but you can really see it here. This tells you that this is the cherries, but the opposite side would be the green gelatin. This one is the green gelatin, but if you flip it over, you're going to get the brown cookie. This one has the white hinting over here. So you can always have an idea as to what's going to be on the bottom. This will be the purple candies on the bottom of this one, right? So you can begin to anticipate, all right, well, if I take everything and this is going to spread out over here, and I take everything, well, there's all that kind of stuff that comes out. And then it starts off empty. So that's a little bit of a fun puzzle to figure out. The next really big puzzle of this game is, where do you put those ingredients? You're limited. You have 2 spots where you can only put pairs, like they have to be the same. You have 1 spot where you can contain up to 4 ingredients, but all 4 must be the same. And then over here, you can take 4 ingredients, but they must all be different. And so you're trying to manage that while figuring out what orders to fulfill. And this game is really fun because you get to figure all that stuff out while balancing this out. Another thing that this game has, another wrinkle to this game has that I appreciate from another game, which I can't think of at the moment, it's Gold West, which I talked about earlier. Gold West has this, maybe not exactly like the same thing in Gold West, but basically when you take the ingredients, when you fulfill an order, you're basically saying, all right, I got the ingredients, I'm going to go prepare this meal or this dessert. I'm going to make this cake. I'm going to make this cake, right? It takes time to do it, and you get to dictate how much time it takes. If you have it take the most time, you're going to get the best benefit. You're going to get this permanent ingredient. It's like for example, this person here has got the candies in a jar. So no matter what ingredients they have to pay for, they always have 1 free candy to give too. So that might be worth you doing. And then every round that you play, it decays until eventually it falls off. Once it falls off, then you can use them as these sets. So this person has let's say 3 pies, 1, 2, and 3 pies. Once we're in this part of the phase, you can say, I've got these 3 pies. I'm going to go ahead and claim this trophy. Where is it at? There's a trophy board over here, and I have 3 pies, so I'm going to go ahead and take this trophy, which will give me 8 points at the end of the game. So you're trying to do the best you can to get the ingredients, to make the foods, and then, time best when you want these things to come out, because it is a little bit of a competitive race to get the medals at the right time. Do you want to wait the longest to get something, or go really, really quick? So that's a lot of fun. And then there are some events in here. They're mostly positive events that give you stuff or causes some extra messing. And that is Sweet Mess. Does not replace Splendor, but I like to play this way more than Splendor. It's got more meat to it. And yeah, Sweet Mess is my number 20. My number 19 is next. And by the way, that's the hint. This could be, oh my gosh, excuse me. This could be a very different game depending on which ones you play, but this is the classic one, Oh My Goods, from Alexander Pfister. This is a weird, it's a weird game. It's an engine builder. Let's start there. So basically, there's a board game version of this. The card game version is what I like the most. You have a production building, which is this blue one that you start off with. And for example, this person here who has this card, they're trying to get 2 wheat and 1 wood, and they can make charcoal. And they're going to store all their charcoal here, and every card that you have here is worth 1 gold. But at the moment that they make at least 1 charcoal with this recipe, they can also spend as many wood type cards from their hand as they want, and chain the production together and generate as much charcoal as they want. Every card that's up here would be worth 1. So these are multi-use cards. They can be used for the type of ingredient that they are. When you're chaining, you put a card from the deck, or from your hand actually, if you're doing this chaining action, all the cards that you would be spending would not go into a discard pile, they go face down on top of the card. And so every 1 card, acts as 1 coin. If you had done the same thing here, every 1 card on this building, right, whatever this thing is based off the ingredients and such, would be worth 4 gold. And then you use those goods, I guess they put them underneath it, but you use those goods to buy assistants and buy new buildings and increase your production line and stuff like that. But one of the things that makes this game so fun is it feels really satisfying to generate, like you are limited at first because you don't have these assistants. You've only got the one worker, so you have to only activate one building at a time. But eventually you'll get better upgrades, and you can, this person here has got all these buildings available, but they're only activating these 3. So they're trying to combo that a little bit together. And I wouldn't say it's a race, but I think whoever builds, I think it's 15 buildings, 12 buildings, something like that, ends the game, and you count up your points, count up your gold, and go from like that. My favorite version of this game is not just to play the game as is, but there's one of their first expansions introduces like a co-op variant, and that's been really fun to play as well. And so that is my number 19. Oh my goods. That was 19. Yes, that was number 19. My number 18 uses this cool little icon here, and that is Rising Sun. I remember when this game was first announced, I believe at Gen Con, and I was so excited because feudal Japan, and especially the monsters and the lore, is some of my favorite. I'm not an aficionado, but man, this stuff looks really it looks really cool. I'm trying not to curse there. It looks really cool. I went all in on the Kickstarter, so I've got all of the pieces, but I don't think there's much available nowadays that was Kickstarter exclusive. Maybe a couple of these things. I don't know. I didn't get everything, but I got a lot of good stuff. I think these are cardboard instead of plastic, but who cares? This game is perfect for 3 players or 5 players. In fact, I kind of like to play this at 3 players. It is area control, area majority, so you have to know that going in there's going to be some combat to it. But this whole tea phase, like having tea with someone and forming an alliance, is interesting because there's an honor system. There's an honor track over here, which influences turn order, but it also breaks ties. So, excuse me. When you say, okay, well, how about red and blue? Let's team up and be alliance this time. Yeah, sure, right. You can go ahead and do that. You'll stay aligned until you break the alliance, and if you break the alliance, you go down in the honor track, and it's usually at a pivotal time when you do that. And then you'll, every single round you have to sort of do this T phase and form your alliances new again. But having that one person left out is not punishing either, because if you're on your own, you're not bound by the honor system. So there's that side of that coin too, where it's like, well, you were going to form an alliance with yellow, and they said no. I guess it's in our best interests, but you know what? Nah, I think I'm okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on my own too. And it's still viable. So it's not punishing. And that's why I like this better at 3 or 5 than I would at even pairs. Because when you play in 2 or when you play like a 4-player game, for example, I think at that player count, if 2 people are aligned, it's better to be aligned than not to be. And I don't think that that's as cool. So I would play this at 3 players the most, and then 5. But the area majority is fun. I didn't even talk about the action selection stuff. There's a known number of these tiles or cardboard, whatever, of actions that are available, but they're shuffled into a stack, and you draw 3. I think you have a hand size of 3, and you have to play one that affects everybody. It includes how much you move, how much, things that you can recruit, like all that stuff. And even though it's perfect information to know what's available, you don't know what's in that one player's hands. So you're thinking about your alliance, you're thinking about what you're trying to do, you're thinking about what's left to be revealed that hasn't been revealed. There's special abilities. That's where all of these fun, unique monsters come into play that you can influence and own and influence and change the battles and landscape of the thing. There's victory points to be earned. There's coins to be earned. The combat system's a little funky. There's so much to explain it, which I'm not going to do right now. But Rising Sun is, I think this actually might be my favorite area control, area majority negotiation. It definitely has some negotiation in there as well. Alliances, one of my favorite games, Rising Sun, which I don't get to play nearly as often as I want to, because it is a beast, but it is such a special game. Probably a good con game too. Rising Sun is amazing. All right, this one is, this is a classic. This is on my list because there is a nostalgia factor. I did play it a long time ago when I was coming into the hobby, but I haven't really seen anything else like it, and that's why it's still one of my favorite games. But I think why it's still so high on my list is because of just how much I enjoy playing it, and that is Belfort. I don't know if anyone's gonna be bringing it back now, because TMG has been gone for a long time. But man, Belfort is really cool. Let me show you something. This is not a really good picture, but I wanted to at least bring out. I have the rulebook saved up here because I want to show you something. The theme of this game is that you're tasked with rebuilding this city, and it contracts out. Here we go. It contracts out to all like this is who you represent as your faction almost. This is very much a worker placement game with a resource management element to it. You can it's one of the first games I think that had upgrading your workers as an element, and you're constantly trying to build certain places of the town of Belfort. Now, what's really interesting about this game is there is area majority tied to it, so you can't really see it all that great here, but I'm going to try and zoom in on it. There's this market phase, so you can dedicate your workers to come over and get wood or collect stone, right, or get metal. And we're going to take turns going around going around the table, taking actions. So when we're all done placing our workers, we can we're going to see who has the majority of these things. So for every elf that you put out here, you're going to get a wood, but if you have the most, you're going to get an extra one. Same for the dwarves and the stone, or the combo to get the metal, right? Or you can use one or the other to get some coins. Another thing that you can do is you can gain access to, manipulate turn order or get some gold and upgrades. Upgrade your characters so that they can become more proficient. So there's a normal side and a master side. So that was something that was really new. That was really fun. There's a recipe list of like materials that you're going to need to build certain buildings. So on this map, you can see that they've got, guilds are different action places, but you've got like walls that you can build. You've got this building, you get this building, this blue building, like all these different things that you can build. And at every interval within the round, gosh, I wish I would have chose a better picture for you. Let's see if they can turn it around. At every interval of the round, the pentagon shape here is 5 individual boards pushed together, and they're all identical and the same. So you score one slice of this pizza at a time. So whoever has the most units or the most buildings in this section gets X amount of points and so on. Then you just kind of go around each section of the board to do that. I don't think there's another game that's quite like this. I've not seen one. If there is, I would love a recommendation to it. But it's fun to build buildings that are out there that no one else has access to. It's fun to compete for certain places that everyone has access to. First player majority doesn't matter. You've got income that you're worrying about based off of the buildings that you're going to be building. This is a game that's just, like I said, I've not seen a Euro style worker placement resource game that really handles even area majority. There's no control. I guess it is area control because you're trying to have the most in a particular slice, but for the most part, you're dealing with majority. Yeah, and then upgrading and getting these gnomes, which lets you get more powerful buildings. Just kind of managing all of that over the course of 6 rounds is pretty fun and entertaining. Oh, and I should mention there's also a tax element here. I didn't know how I feel about it at first, but it really helps balance out this game. I'm going to see if I can find a quick picture of it. Yeah, there's a boundary between taxes. So in between each round, on the score track, like imagine this leg of the score track, this is where you are on. There's a boundary that represents the tax levels. So here's one, for example. If you're in between 6 to 10 points, then you have to pay 1 gold in taxes, and this goes up over time. Hey, stop. Sorry, my dog's going nuts on her face again. And it goes around the board that way. Unfortunately, I can't really, I guess you can kind of see it going over here. Like here, for example, if you're going for, I think this is 50 points. So if you're in between like 41 and 50 points, then you have a tax income of a lot of gold, which I've never seen anyone get this high on the track, but it is possible. So you're constantly trying to get as much gold as you can, because for every amount of gold that you can't pay, you lose in victory points. And that element to try and manage is really rewarding, and I think adds a good amount of competitiveness to this game. Anyways, that is my number 17, Belfort. I really hope it gets reprinted someday. All right, number 16 is Quacks of Quedlinburg. That's what this little fun pumpkin's all about. This is a bag building game, or pool building game, I should say. You are going to be brewing potions. So there's ingredients that are out there. What's really fun is it's a push your luck style game as well. And I think that the randomness that comes from pulling things from a bag and busting is what makes this game so fun and tense, when it's like, oh, well, I'm going to push my luck. Oh, you're at this level. I guess I'm going to try and outdo you. But basically, you've got these white cherry bombs inside your potion bag, and you're trying to not get this to exceed 7. And as long as that's true, you can decide to pull. So over the course of this is really late in the game, by the way. You're not going to start with nearly as many ingredients in your bag. You're not going to have your water starting. This is like the water droplet represents where you start. So this person has upgraded it 10 times, because normally you start your potions here. But then there's a really fun it's a way to kind of handle the runaway leader. But you can't rely on it too long, because you're just never going to win that way. But on the scoreboard, there are these rats, and their rat tails kind of cross some of the thresholds of the points. And so you look at where you are relative to where the leader is, and you count the number of rat tails in between the victory point tracker that you're in, and you get to boost yourself up. So this player started on 10, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 7 spaces, rat tails, not even spaces, but 7 rat tails away from the leader, which means they're pretty far back in points. So being able to start a potion here makes it simpler for them to get like a really high scoring potion, hopefully, and make up those points in the leader. And I really, really appreciate that, because I think that's what makes this game really accessible to a lot of players, is as you're not doing so well, there is a catch-up mechanic. But then also, because it's a push your luck style game, a couple of bad beats and you can still be in it. You can still find yourself competitive in this game. And I think that's been what makes this game so special and fun, is that, yes, there's luck and randomness. Obviously, there is strategy, because you choose the ratios of what goes into your bag. But it still kind of feels fair, because you are limited to pushing your luck. All right, that's my number 16. So how many of those did you get? We're not going to stop here, though. I know this has been a long video already, because these games are some of my favorites, and I tend to talk a little bit more on them. But we're going to jump right into the next 5 and see if you can guess what those are. Here we go. So starting with my number 15, we've got this one. Here's my number 14. That's my 15. 14. 13. 12. And number 11. Hopefully, these look pretty familiar, because these are some popular games. Starting with my number 15. My number 15 is a brand new game to this list and also this year, and that's Veil of Eternity. This game is so much fun. I love this game so much. This is like, if you like card comboing, this is a really fun game. I think you should definitely give it a try. There's a fun twist on drafting. So the start of it, based off of player counts, cards will come out, and then you slot the cards based off their types around the board, and then you take turns calling dibs on the card that you want, and you do this twice. And then once you're done, first player will deal with their card. So imagine if I was this shape here, I call dibs on this card and this card. So I could choose to sell a card, which is, based off of their region, going to give you certain amounts of coins to use. So if you did the green card, you would get these 4 1 value stones. And what's interesting about this game is you only have capacity for 4 stones. right? I'm calling them stones. I don't know what they are in the game, but they're stones. You only have room for 4 of any value. You can't have more than that. So if I got a 5th stone, like a 6, I'd have to discard one of my previous stones. So that's the balance there. And you're trying to pay cards with these things, and there's no change. So if I want this really awesome card and I want to play it right now, and it costs 2, but I've only got like a bunch of 3s and 6s, spend maybe a 3 on it, not get my change back. There's so much card comboing here. There's so much potential of finding new abilities to put together. There's early game strategies and late game strategies where like the same card feels more powerful or less relevant depending on when you get it, but they're still always very useful. This is a game that's also very clever in the capacity, where in whatever round you're in, it, like if you're around 4, that tells you that you're only allowed to have 4 cards in play in front of you. If you're around 6, then the max number of cards you can have in front of you is 6. So it does ramp up as you go, but then this cost, but it also represents the cost. So if I'm in round 4 and I already have 4 cards in front of me and I really want to play this other card, then because I'm in round 4, it's going to cost me 4. I have to pay 4 to put a card that's already on play out, just to create the space for it, and then I have to additionally pay my cost of my card. So early game, that cost is easy to make up for, but late game not so much. And man, it's such a cool game. It's such a clever game, I think is what I would call it. And it plays really fast. You can knock them. I mean, this box says 40 minutes. That's about true. Once you get a game under your belt and you know how to play, especially as you get more familiar with the cards, this game is a lot of fun. And that is Veil of Eternity. I would highly recommend that to a lot of people. This next game here is a classic. I'm one of the very few people in my gaming group that love it, but I'm never giving this game away. And that is At the Gates of Loyang. This is a farming style game. And one of the innovative, maybe clever things I love about this game is the last thing that you do on your turn is you advance up the victory point tracker. But you have to, in order for you to advance it, you have to pay with money. So right now, this person has 6 points. So for them to go, when you get to this part of the phase where you're able to go up the track, your first step is always going to cost you, I think, 1 gold or 1 coin. But then you have to pay face value for every sequential step. So, for example, I can move up to the next step for paying 1 coin, but if I want to continue up the track here, then I have to pay 8 gold, then 9 more gold. So if I had 20 gold at the time I ended my turn, I could probably move up three spaces here. And so you're constantly trying to get the right ingredients and farm them and then sell them to the customers who want the things without making them angry to get a bunch of money. So here's an example. If you were to take this reoccurring customer, I forget the name of that, they require wheat. So for 4 rounds in a row, they're going to come back saying, hey, I want to buy 2 wheat. And if you have it, you put it on the card and you get the 4 gold. Then the next thing they come back, if you have it, you put it on here, you get the 5 gold, right? You're allowed 1 time where you can't satisfy them, and that's okay. No severe punishments. But if you do it again, they go away, and you're never going to get the potential of the 5 and the 6 gold. So based off of what I just told you, if I had 5 gold at the end from just getting this 1 customer, and now we're way back here, I move up 1 and then spend 5 gold to move up 1 more spot. So this is how you're going to get your thing. So like you're going to be able to move up these tracks. So you're constantly trying to weigh out, all right, well, these are rare, harder to come by ingredients, but if I pull it off, the rewards are greater. And by the time I move up 3 rounds from now, I mean, this is 1 victory point, probably 2 victory points. So you're constantly trying to manage that. You've got people that you can trade ingredients with. You've got one type, like one immediate one-stop shop, people that want things from you. I think these are the traders, actually. I forget which one's which. Special abilities and all that kind of stuff. This game is, despite how cool it is to, like, get the ingredients that you want, and on the markets that come out every single round, of different plot sizes and such. Like the plots themselves tell you what they're compatible with. So this one only grows 4, and it's compatible with everything except for the leeks, I think. Yeah. This one is, it has a lot of spaces, but it's only compatible with the wheat, pumpkins, and radishes. So you're trying to figure out based off of what's available, what do you want to spend, what ingredient you want to spend, and who do you pursue. Then this whole like market simulator thing, it is up my alley. I love this game so much, and I have to give it a little bit of acknowledgement here that this is super dependent on player count. I think 3-player or 4-player, I forget which one of those, is like the way to go. So I think 3-player might be the way to go. I have to remember that again. The rule book is really written really weird. There's like all these different little extra anecdotal pieces of information. They're not anecdotes, but like little things. Well, if you're playing with 2 players, do this. If you're playing with 4, do that. So the rule book's really tough. But at the Gates of Laying is one of my favorite one of these styles of games. So yeah, give it a try. All right, you probably recognize this icon, although not like that. This token over here is from a very, 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 very popular game called Scythe. I'm trying to talk too much on this one, but you play as a faction, you're spreading around to territories, you're exploiting for resources, and then using those resources to upgrade and build locations and build mechs, all sorts of stuff. And what I appreciate from this game the most is this achievement tracker up here. You start with, I think, 6 of these stars, and the game ends as soon as someone places their 6th star. I believe that's the number. But you can get stars from doing all different types of things. If you finish all of your upgrades, if you finish all your buildings, if you build all your mechs, if you bring in all of your people, each of those are individual achievements. If you fulfill your personal mission, you get an achievement point. If you win 2 individual combats, that's 2 individual stars. So there's a lot of different ways to approach that. Oh, I forgot to mention there are 2 tracks. There's a power track and a reputation track. If you max those out, those are stars too. So like lots of room for different types of strategies. Every time you play, you randomly get your faction, and you randomly get a board. And the board is laid out differently. Like they're all fundamentally laid out the same, but the things that you do, there's different flavors and combinations of those boards. So one board, for example, here will give you the most gold when you do, I believe, an upgrade, and some will give you less. One will give you more gold when you do building a mech. So you're going to be kind of pointed down that path of what you're really good at, what you're not so good at. Meanwhile, interacting with the map is fun because all the resources are not technically yours. They're just on the map, and if you have units there, you can use them. But while they're on the map, other players can come in and kind of snake them away from you. So you have to protect them with mechs and your leaders and stuff. So there's not a lot of combat in this game, but when it happens, you pay attention to it because it can win you or lose you the game. So you always want to be prepared for it. It's like having nukes in your army, but you don't really want to use them, kind of thing. So you have to be careful of the black faction because they get better stuff. They're more geared towards the battle, so you keep in mind of that kind of stuff. Anyways, it's a great game. You should try it out. And that is Scythe. We've got 2 more games here, I believe, on this list. My number 12 and then my number 11 here. This is another uber popular game right now, and that is called Earth. I really enjoy this game, obviously, because it's my number 12. But there are a couple of hindrances, I think, that keeps it out of my top 10 or even my top 5. So this game is another game that's got card comboing like crazy. There are so many different ways of scoring points, a lot of viable strategies. The deck of cards is insanely massive and hard to it's interesting where you might want a strategy that has specific types of cards. So you're going to use abilities that let you draw a bunch of cards, and you're not getting the cards that you want. But now that you have a handful of cards, not only do your options maybe change, but you might take some compost actions, which lets you just discard cards to your combo, like to your compost. So out of your hand into your compost. But now that they've been composted, every one of these cards is 1 point at the end of the game. So there's you can get points while trying to do things to get you better cards as well. There's a whole bunch of different varieties and objectives and stuff like that. Like, this game is amazing. It really is amazing. I have to admit though, it is hard to keep track of your progress on these objectives because you're constantly looking at all the icons, and you're looking at the things on your in your tableau and paying attention to what order to do different things with your other players. Like, it can be hard to keep track of these things. So what I would recommend, and this is what I've done when I played this with on person, is just get a pile of cubes or just anything, like even just a dice or a notepad or just something. Maybe not a notepad, but I think dice works really well. Like an 8-sided or 10 or 12-sided die, and keep one around, or just keep a pile of cubes around. And as you progress, like, do a countdown. Like, start with a lot and pull it down. And I think that makes it simpler what to know who's close and who's not close. Because if you look at a pile of like 6 or 7 cubes and like 2 different players, you don't really remember, okay, who's closest, let me count that. But if everyone has like 6 or 7 cubes or tokens or dice or whatever valued up there, and they bring it down to like 2 or 1, oh yeah, that's very, very clear as to who's close to completing those objectives. So I think that's a miss in the production. My way to mitigate that is use some countdown dice or get a pile of cubes of different colors for different players if you want to do that route. They're not usually expensive, but it does add to the cost of the game. The digital version of this in Board Game Arena solves for all of that because they do all of the tracking as you go, and I think that's what really made me notice after playing it digitally. When I play in person, yeah, I would like to have a much easier way of knowing how I'm doing relative to the other players in this way. So keep that in mind. But Earth is a really fun combo engine builder style of game with a lot of adaptation. Like, you're going to have some strategy, but this game is all about how well you adapt to what you get. And that's fun. I like that. I like it a lot. That's Earth. The last game in this video, my number 11, before we get into our top 10, uses this compass token, and that is for Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is as close to a competitive Indiana Jones style game I think that's available right now. So everyone plays as their own indie, or I've got all the expansions here. So there's like it turns into an asymmetric game with player powers and stuff. But base game, you're all basically Indiana Jones, and you're trying to do the best you can to you know, have the most valuable expedition that you have. What makes this game, I think, entertaining is, even though you start off with a very similar deck of cards, this is a deck building game. You are purchasing cards from like single time use type cards from artifacts, or ongoing cards that you can just continue to play with and draw. And these locations are these cards are multi-use, so you can use them for their ability, or you can use them to help you travel. And for the most part, you're going to use them for their abilities, but you will need to have them travel. And there are these 2 tracks over here on the right. One's the journal action, and one's like the research actions. One looks like a book, one looks like a magnifying glass. And you're trying to spend your resources. Let me zoom in here. You're trying to spend your resources to move up the track. So if I were yellow and I wanted to move up the track, I'd have to spend a tablet and an arrowhead. I forget the names of these things officially, but if I did that, then I get whatever is here and I continue up the track. So there is a little bit of a race to it, because you're going to, like, as you can see, there's nothing on these spaces, but there are tiles up here. And if you're the first to reach this location up here, you're going to get a nice big fat bonus. And you can eventually spend in more resources to get even these other victory point tiles as well. And then wherever you finish the game at, for your highest magnifying glass will also give you points, and the same with your journal. But every time you cross thresholds, you're going to get bonuses as well for your journals. So like, all of this resource stuff and the tracks and the timing of this and racing up this compared to where your players are doing is fun. But then you're also unlocking locations to go and visit. So initially there's only these locations to get resources from. But over the course of playing the game, you're going to be unlocking locations where there's going to be some big guardians, but behind those guardians are some really cool boons, and you need jeeps and you need boats or ships to go anywhere you want to go and collect these things. So eventually you are going to need to go out there and, you know, like for example, to look at this place here, you're going to need to spend a bunch of compasses to um, to explore that land and discover, oh, there's this next guardian and what's behind it. Now, I think the element of tension here is that there are individual actions to explore and then go and deal with, you know, trying to defeat the guardian. What's interesting here is one person can explore it and they're locked up at the location, right? But then they're going to come off, and another player could go in, defeat the guardian, and then you go ahead and get the rewards that's there. You get the rewards for defeating the guardian, and then you get the action there. But once the guardian is removed, as long as you pay for the transportation costs, these are new placement spots, right? So you just go here and you're going to get an artifact, a tablet, and an arrowhead. And so that is the push and the pull is someone's got to do the exploring. Someone's going to get points for doing it. But then thanks for doing it, because now you're really helping my engine out. So that's really, really fun. So I would highly recommend this deck building game to anybody. Like, it's a hybrid because it does have worker placement, but I think that this is, like, there are other games that marry two major mechanisms together, deck building and this one is using deck building and worker placement. But I think this game is the best one that really makes this feel as a true hybrid. It is both, like, you need to do the deck building good and you need to do the worker placement good. And I think this is the best one that really manages both of those equally. And that's Lost Ruins of Arnak. Please check this one out. It's a lot of fun. And with that, that brings us to close on this chapter of the top 10 to the top 10. And so, yeah, we're gonna bring us back here. Thanks for watching. You'll find links to go check out all the previous videos that we've done so far. Thank you again for just tuning in. I've had, I don't say we, it's really just me. It's been fun to see the engagement so far. It's way more than I was expecting. So it's been gratifying to just hear comments and things that I read in other types of social media about the games that they haven't touched on before. And I think that was the big win for me is I don't really need judgments, good or bad, about my list, but it's like, being aware of games that you forgot about. I think that's really fun and cool. So, oops, I didn't mean to click that button. Thanks for watching. Hope this has been entertaining for you, and also that you're discovering games to play with your friends and family. And yeah, catch you in the final video for 2024. Bye.